I'm the recovery Ronin. I know I'm full of shit, right? Because I know I'm a human being. The only thing I know I'm right about is I'm never right about anything. I'm exploring, I'm expressing. The way I say something, how I say something, the passion behind it, it's not a sense of righteousness. It's from a sense of desperation. I don't know why I care so much about this. I just always have. It's all I've ever thought. It's the number one thing I've thought about my entire life. Trying to understand human behavior, consciousness, what it means to be a human being. From the time I could talk, I told everybody that I came here to evolve my consciousness and help others. I said I chose my parents. My sister-in-law told me this. I used to say this when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember thinking it from the time I could think. I remember writing down like a 7-page idea of what consciousness is, kind of like a religious idea of our spirit and God, or like collective consciousness, when I was like 8 years old, and it turned out to be a lot like Buddhism. I was a weird freaking kid. I'm a weird freaking man. I don't know anybody that talks like me. I don't know. I feel like I really wanted to be born to be a knight, because all I want is to make a difference in people's lives, and wanting to be a leader, leave a legacy of love, of care, of support. And it's not this white knight savior shit. For me, validation used to be what I desired. Sympathy for my pain and my suffering, validation for my ego. The weird thing is, the more authentic I become, the less validation matters to me. The reward I get for being of service, like, I'm working in the restaurant business again. I'm still running groups and doing clinical work, but I'm working in the restaurant business after 8 years. And it's weird how much more important it is to me for every table I have to have a good time, to make an impact on them, however little that means, for the people I work with. And I tell them, I care about teamwork. I care about having your back more than I care about making money by a long shot. Right? Nobody knows how to take a guy like me that's constantly, I mean, my first day there, I went around and told everybody, understand who and what I am. I want to have your back. Not as a transaction. I don't want anything from you. I don't need validation. I just want to have your back. And the hard part is navigating being a clinician for all these years, a primary therapist, a program director, a group facilitator, an adventure therapy leader, and going back to the restaurant business, where I'm used to everybody around me kind of wanting to know what I think, right? Wanting my perceived wisdom, my information, my clinical expertise to help them. And now I work with a bunch of servers and bartenders and cooks who don't know me like that. But I can still feel them. I can still see their struggle. I mean, I've been able to help a bunch of them, but I have to hold back. I have to keep my mouth shut, because not everybody wants to hear what the fuck I gotta say. Especially timing, right? And my point to this is why I'm the recovery Ronin. Why I know, without a doubt, well, that's not true. My ego has all kinds of doubt. There's like, when I meditate, I know it. I know my voice is going to get very loud. And that I am going to change the way we think about mental health, addiction, and healing in America. I know it's my destiny. It's all I've ever thought about. And the crazy thing is, there's this like truth to it. I'm not here to save the world. I'm not a savior. Right? All I want to do is make the world better. Be of service to people. Here, right? I want to change the world. I've already done it, and I'll never do it. I've already made an impact on thousands of people's lives. The honor of my life. Number one, being the husband I am to my wife. Number two, making an impact on thousands of people, especially the women. God, especially the women. The fact that probably over 1,000 women in the last 12 years have allowed me, have trusted me with their fears, trusted me to help them open their heart, trusted me with their pain. Even in the intimate stuff, like doing Adventure therapy, cold plunging, rock climbing, paddle boarding, like, right, I'm very close. Like, I'm tying them up on the rope, I'm guiding them up, I'm inspiring them. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it at the Rockwall gym. This fucking breaks my heart, man. It fucking breaks my heart. And I can't tell you why I'm so passionate about this. I just always have been. It's who I am. And now that I've actually turned it into something meaningful, I'm so humbled by it. It's such an honor. The passion's so strong in me. But I've taken, hundreds and hundreds of people rock wall climbing in treatment. And how many times I've had a man, but especially a woman, who's maybe a little overweight, out of shape, or just doesn't like attention, is shy, reserved, or doesn't like being in front of everybody. And we got like the whole group, 20 people at the gym watching her get up on the rope with the harness on and start climbing. They'll go like 10 feet. And they're like, all right, let me down. And I let them feel, right? Because I have this rapport with them. I really believe in you. I know you got this. I know you got more in you. All they needed was that little bit of inspiration. Sometimes I work with women in their 40s who feel like nobody has ever fucking really believed in them. Right? And like I had to learn with my wife. I told her and I showed her through the things I said and did that I believed in her. But I also never really believed in her. I believed in who she was. But because she didn't follow through with the goals she set like everybody else, I didn't really believe in her. We all do this, right? We tell ourselves we're going to follow through with this, that, and the other thing, and then we don't. But we make excuses for it. We don't know how to change anymore because we're looking on the outside in. It's the whole point of everything I'm saying. We're not inspired. And when I build that kind of rapport and they trust me and they feel, my wife felt, once I removed that fear and I opened my heart and I started trusting myself, I started trusting that there's more to this life than what I've been told, that I should use fear to guide my path. I started changing the way my brain, it wasn't like, we all say it. We all think it's true. We all know it's true. But we don't believe and we don't have faith, right? Maybe in our heart, maybe in our bodies, but not in our brain. And our brain operates our behaviors and the way we express ourselves. And our nervous system reacts to these beliefs. What we truly believe, right? It's crazy people think they believe stuff that they don't. What you believe is what you achieve. If you believe you're a healthy person, you do healthy things. If you believe in spirituality, you practice spirituality. If you really believe or have faith in God, you don't live a life of fear. That's kind of the whole, that's the definition of faith is absence of fear. And I'll get these women up on the wall, and when they feel that I believe in them, that little inspiration, just like with my wife, the change, I've watched them climb the whole other 60 feet so many times. And the look on their face when they come down. What I have seen is why I will not shut up. Because I've seen what works and what absolutely does not. I can tell you what doesn't work. Saying things you don't embody, pretending that you do. Sitting around constantly ruminating on our problems. The same things over and over, feeling like that if we get it off our chest, we'll feel a little bit better about it, but nothing really changes. And then we try to hold others accountable, right? Believing in them, say, oh, you don't follow through. I don't believe in you. You're full of shit. Well, how many times do you follow through with your goals? Where's your consistency? We've lost this part of ourselves because for a bunch of we weren't grounded. Right? How real this is. It's scary. And all the voices of people like me, we're not special. That's the thing. We'll all tell you that. There's nothing special about anybody who has actually started the awakening. Whether it's Jim Carrey's, like Matthew McConaughey, even somebody like a Jelly Roll, or Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves did it in a very unique way, right? But self-actualization is self-actualization. What it is the way a person recognizes their ego, right? No, it's not how bad your ego is, it's how attached you are to it. I mean, it's also how bad. Like, my ego's fucking crazy. That's why I had to do the awakening. I had no choice. Some people's ego, their personality, is stable enough that they can survive. They can get by through life. They'll never really hit that next stage of thriving. They won't follow through and take advantage of every opportunity and constantly create opportunities. They'll show up. That's about it. Right? Most people, whatever your habits are, stay your habits. I've gotten completely off topic here. Why I have to do this? It's because of what I see. Sitting around ruminating on problems all day long. Talking about substances, talking about triggers. It doesn't work. Saying something doesn't mean you embody it. And it's wild, because the people that need to hear what I have to say the most are the people who will get angry at what I have to say. Right? If I'm pointing out something and you take it personally, why are you taking it personally? Right? This is where honesty begins. If you say something that upsets me, I took it personally. Whatever you said. If I disagree with you, especially like you're making a point that's not a personal attack, you're making a general point, and I get angry over it, because why do I need to be angry? Why can't I just disagree with you and have a conversation? Aren't you allowed to have a difference of opinion? You're taking it personal because you're getting emotional and your defense network is popping off. Like, we can't even be honest about this. If somebody says something, especially when it's not like an intended personal attack, a name calling, something like that, somebody's saying something and it upsets you. You're taking it personal. It offends your sensibility in some way. And there's nothing essentially wrong with that. But I'm trying to look out to our culture and point out the obviousness of the truth. That we've all been wired to be so full of shit to justify our lifestyles because we grew up in the age of abundance. We don't have a cultural accountability to spiritual principles anymore. Now it's very little more than platitudes, than just little stories that we say that we don't embody. Right? I can give you a million examples. Like, one that just came to mind is, and I saw a video of a Special Olympics girl playing ping pong, and her ankle was like bent in half, right? So she's standing on her ankle and they're playing ping pong, and the person she's playing hits this great shot and it goes way off, and then her opponent starts walking away, and she dove and made a play and got that thing back on the table and won the point. Even her opponent turned around and was like, "What? You got that?" And I read the comments and it's all like, "Oh my God, you're so inspirational." And I agree. But that's just words. Without your heart connecting to it. I mean, in that moment you might feel like that warm sense, that warm, like, so proud of her, that's so impressive. But inspiration goes more than just the moment, right? It's the way our perceptions and our attitudes, right? Like, I've got a spinal disorder that causes me constant spasms and cramps. It's been the hardest challenge of my life, even with the addiction to homelessness, to loss, to trauma. By far, my chronic pain has been the challenge of my life. And I'll go exercise on the beach, and it's hard to warm up, right? Because the cramps and the spasms are constant all day, every day. But when I'm really warmed up, I feel good. And a lot of times, like, I'll notice my ego wants me to feel sorry for myself, wants me to play the victim, wants me to feel all alone and misunderstood because nobody can possibly understand what I go through. Because what they see is this. Nobody understands why I look like this. That is keeping myself out of a wheelchair. Everybody just thinks I'm a hypochondriac, even though I've seen 8 specialists in my lifetime that all told me I should be in a wheelchair. People see what they see. And I'll be at the beach and I'll notice my ego and that loneliness and that disconnect and that victim mindset and that wanting to feel sorry for myself and justify just quitting. But then I think about that girl. I think about the people in my life. I think about the people who have nothing like the opportunities. Yeah, my life's been hard, but there's billions of people on earth whose lives were so much harder than mine. It's all perspective, right? And if I'm saying something is inspiring to me, I use it as inspiration, right? I'll use movies that inspire me, people that inspire me. My lost loved ones inspire me. My own trauma inspires me. So I use these things. They're not just words to me. And I'm saying this about everything, that we've become so shallow and none of us want to admit it. And it's okay. I'm not angry at that. What I'm angry at is the way our culture protects this truth, where we don't want to explore it, where we're too scared, not individually, as a culture. Like, that's what makes me angry. I understand it individually, but we've lost our leadership. Like, who guided me into my awakening? Master Shi Hun Yi, reading Bill W. stuff, Dr. Bob's books, dead masters that have been dead for thousands of years, motivational speakers, athletes. You know, people in my life inspired me, but I didn't have a guide for awakening beyond the teachings and the mystic practices that have been handed down. And then using neurocognitive behavioral science to understand how I can do specific things to increase my physiological and my neurological rewiring and reprogramming, right? So the spiritual teachings were the perceptions and the attitudes, and then the neuro and cognitive behavioral science were added skill sets of understanding a system, right? I call it a biological android. And in the time of abundance, especially in the time of materialism, where we believe with our analytical mind, right? We used to believe deeper, far deeper principles as far as what reality is. I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say 100 Vikings 700 years ago invaded their neighboring Viking village, right? So 700 is the biggest, toughest, right, baddest, craziest fuckers in history. They get to the village, and you know, whatever the spiritual leader of that village comes out, an 80-year-old lady with like a cane with shit hanging off of it. So it's 100 Vikings against this woman. Who has power? She does, because that was their belief. They saw the world through the lens of the stories they believe, just like we do. The stories we believe is materialism. And the fact that these spiritual truths are so much harder for us. We don't even sit with ourselves anymore. Getting somebody to practice focus, right? That's the thing. I've done this as a clinician. I've done this in groups. I've done this in adventure, exposure, experiential modalities. I have watched the transformation happen in real time. The massive breakthroughs, right? It's very similar to what psychedelics does, right? So what I do with my work, it's understanding the mechanisms that psychedelics do chemically. Because you can do it. All psychedelics do is shut down your default network, right? They quiet the ego, and they allow you to see it really clear. Even like things like marijuana. Why do you think people get paranoid on marijuana? And I even saw this in meditation. I was like, oh, it's theta brain state. Well, because it starts to shut down your default network, right? It slows down the limbic system and the hippocampus. And you have a clearer vision. What is that paranoia when you smoke weed? It's how much you know you're fucking up. Now, it might be presented as, oh, they're going to know I'm high. But all it is your guilt and shame coming to the surface. Your fear of life, your fear of loneliness bubbling up, your fear that you're just a material being and one day you're gone and your consciousness will no longer exist. All the things you care about will go into emptiness. Right? I mean, nothing I say is anything that any master doesn't say. I'm not saying anything unique. I might have connected some threads and simplified it and I might say it in a unique way. That's what we all do, right? Whether it's Joe Dispenza, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Jesus. I'm not trying to put myself on the level of all these people. I'm just saying anybody who's started walking the real path. We all say the same kind of things. Matthew McConaughey, right? Like Jim Carrey, Maharishi, Yoganandra, right? It doesn't really matter. Now that we're all at different levels, right? I still consider myself pretty early, right? I'm nowhere near at the level. I'm not even a master yet. I don't even think I'll be a guru in this lifetime. But my point is, right, that the pain I see in everybody. I see your loneliness. I see your fear. I see the way we bury it beneath layers of denial and excuses. I see how we've almost given up. And we accept that all life is the next vacation, the next thing, the next new thing I'm going to buy, the next getting high, the next party, the next raise, the next car, the next. We've bought this reality and it's just not real. It doesn't matter. Yes, all these things, drugs, alcohol, money, success, they all give you that pleasure, that effort, hard work and effort towards things that matter used to give us. This world of materialism is a lie. I guess more than anything, that's what I'm at war with, out in the world. That our culture believes in materialism, and most people believe it to their core, and we can't be honest about it. Everybody said, no, I don't believe in that materialistic stuff. Yeah, you do. Like, of course you do. It's so obvious we all do. So do I. I grew up in the same world you did. Of course I believe in materialism. Even with the experiences I've had, the spiritual transformation, deep moments in meditation, of healing from chronic illnesses where it's supposed to kill me or put me in a fucking wheelchair, overcoming the level of addiction that I have, finding a peace, hours and hours of meditation, practicing the Gateway Project, all these things. I've had wild experiences. My own path. How the fuck did I get here? Where I'm writing this book where I've been a primary therapist. I never even went to fucking college for this stuff. All I did was obsess over it and talked about it and all the things, manifesting my wife, all this shit. My point is, even with 1,000 spiritual experiences in my life that I'm acutely aware of, that I can define in so many ways, I still don't believe in it. I'm nowhere near faith. Nowhere near. And when you really get to understand yourself, you know what these things mean. Right? People don't even know what they believe anymore. This is the lie of materialism, that we've created an identity that we obviously believe in, that we obviously present to the world, that we tell ourselves every day, but we won't admit it. We don't know how to admit it. We don't know how to be honest about this, because it's terrifying. Of course it is. If we're honest about how trapped behind our ego we are, it's like taking the mask off and putting it on the mantle. It's terrifying. The hardest thing you will ever do is put your ego on the fire. First admitting. It's so hard, especially when it's so abundant. Right? Spiritual awakening isn't a one-time thing. Many people, almost everybody I know in long-term recovery, I would say had a spiritual awakening. At least the one. Understand, here, I'll describe again what I think is the biggest issue in the recovery world beyond how we treat relapse. It's that we lived in the house of chaos, right? There's three houses: house of chaos, house of stability, house of creation, right? House of chaos is complete self-destruction, right? At best, you pay your bills once in a while on time. You destroy every opportunity. You're hurting your relationships. You're lost in level 2 addiction and beyond, right? You have massively destructive mental health behaviors or other eating disorders or major crises where you can't really follow through on anything. You're just so self-destructive. And somebody that gets tired of that, which everybody will at some point, and they'll move to the house of stability, right? So they'll try to stop the behavior on their own or eventually seek treatment or, again, mental health support or something like that, right? And they'll move to the house of stability. So they went from this way of talking, this environment, to this one. And the way I can point out how big of a shift it is everybody, like, literally basically everybody on this one. The first time you went from addiction into a 12-step meeting, and you just put your hand in name, just to say your name, not even to say anything. My name is, and I'm an addict. My name is blank. I might be an alcoholic, whatever. The first time you said your name, you had a panic attack. We all did. Why? Do we not understand the situation? I'm coming to this meeting because I'm ready to change. These are people who have been through what I've been through. Look at them. They look happy. I want to fit in here. It's a place of support and openness and dialogue. And that's why you're having a panic attack. What is your normal state of being, right? What is the conscious state? What is the nervous system used to in your addiction? Isolation, pain, loneliness. So that's what you're comfortable in. And then you go into a meeting or a treatment center, right, or a mental health facility, a different environment. And again, that is a big shift. Your nervous system and your brain doesn't know that it's healthy. It just knows it's different. And our nervous system and our brain is built to keep us stuck because it's a survival mechanism. Change, the unknown, when we evolved for hundreds of thousands of years, meant potential death, right? If you leave the safety of an environment that you're used to, you would be hyper alert because there's a bear in every cave, a panther in every tree, a snake in every grass, headhunter in every neighboring village, right? There's imminent danger all around. All right, so our literal base physiology built the defense mechanism to change into the unknown, right? So that's why we had the panic attack. But how do you define a spiritual awakening, right? Change of perception, change of attitude, right? So if you keep going to that space, keep going to the meeting, keep seeking therapy, keep stay in treatment, right? Whatever it is, and you start making friends, you start speaking the language, you change the way you talk, you change the way you look at things based on what they're saying, whatever the group think is, the group dynamic and support structure is, you'll get comfortable there. Now you went from fearing it and hating it to being comfortable, making friends, looking forward to it even. You just had a spiritual awakening, right? Your nervous system has shifted. You feel way more secure. That lifestyle is so much better, right? Just think about the shift in basic lifestyle. Living in the house of chaos, massive addiction or behavioral disorders, going to meetings, treatment or something, the structure, the stability, right? You're either living in a halfway house or you're getting guided and you're around people who are trying to do the same thing. And you're showing up consistently. Your attitude's better. You're excited for life again. You're great. Most people, especially the first time, are so motivated because they have all the external motivators, right? They've been desperate to get away from their destructive behavior, out of the house of chaos. And they think, oh my God, I did it. Okay, I'm not craving anymore, right? And you're going to work, you're paying bills, you want the money, the girl, you want all the external things, the respect, you want your health back. Those things are extremely motivating, right? So you're doing all these things, you think you got it because you feel good, you feel inspired. You thought without the destructive behavior, without the addiction, without living in the house of chaos, life's going to be fucking grand because I'm going to show up consistently. And then you get all those things. All right, so you had that spiritual awakening. It's so powerful. And you felt the motivation. You felt the inspiration, right? You saw, hopefully you found a group of people that are really inspiring. Right? I mean, just the seeing a couple hundred addicts who were hugging and saying all the same things, that was so fucking inspiring. Seeing people that looked like they were in shape, that had their shit together, fucking inspiring. What I needed was to understand deeper what inspiration is. I needed to be inspired to practice spiritual transformation. I needed to lean into the most uncomfortable things. The corny shit. Right? Think about how many people in recovery, when like my step study group, we did it for, helped start it, what, 18 years ago, 17 years ago, somewhere around there. How many times we really, I mean, we did the circle up, which was uncomfortable enough, but we tried to get through because we were all uncomfortable. We didn't lean into meditation, metacognition, self-awareness. We didn't lean into deep prayer together. We didn't do the shit that was really uncomfortable. The things that really help you change. Going deep into yourself and challenging your perceptions and your attitudes. Right? And it's not our fault that we get stuck in the house of stability. We believe in materialism. Just saying you have a relationship with God is not the same thing as practicing a relationship with God. Those are two completely different things. Just not doing dope, just not drinking yourself to death every day is not the same thing as having a spiritual awakening. They're two completely different things. Again, I will never celebrate myself for not doing heroin, for not sticking a needle in my arm. Are we not more than that? Like, where did this even come from? It never made much sense to me, because I would get my key tags in early, the first fucking 20 years of my recovery. And yes, it meant a lot to me to get the time, sure. But what I needed to mean a lot to me, what I really was looking for, wasn't time clean. Was conscious living and spiritual awakening is what I was looking for. And that's what the key tags and chips are supposed to be for. According to the people who found the fucking program. I didn't know that till very recently. And I'd stand there and I'd look at these and go like, I still want to blow my brains out. Because I'm still, not only am I the person who started using to the level I did, right? The person who was so damaged, he chose a substance over his entire fucking life. His health, his place to live, every opportunity, right? Obviously, I'm a pretty fucking damaged person if a drug means more to me than everything else. So that unbelievably damaged person who now has all the damage caused from the addiction, all the guilt, all the shame, the homelessness, the regret, the loneliness, the identity now that I'm just a piece of shit fucking junkie, and you remove the substance and put me around people that makes me feel better and tell me that's all there is. Nobody talks like me that I know. Everybody would say my deep exploration of my spiritual awakening is overcomplicating it. Everybody I know will tell me that. Everybody. Think about what I am saying. When I talk about spiritual awakening, when I talk about that it's more than a cliche, more than a platitude, that we need to do deep intrinsic work, every single person I know in recovery, okay, like that, my people, I think I've met like 3 outside of my people, but my people that I know from the meetings, from going to meetings, my sponsorship family, the people I know, every one of them will tell me, there goes Adam being Adam, overcomplicating it again. Think about what I'm saying. Really think about what I'm saying. The shit that's in the book that I'm saying we're not embodying it, man. We're not having these conversations. This shit is challenging as fuck. Mapping your ego and surrendering attachment to it is the hardest thing you'll ever do. Why do you think so few people do it? And the fact that I know what I know, and I don't know that I'm right, but everything I say aligns with every spiritual leader, every true powerful voice we've ever had in history. We're all saying the same thing. I'm just saying it in this way, in this context, because of my experiences in the way, and I've studied everything. Right, to find my spiritual awakening, which I never stopped fighting for. Right, so that's one huge thing, that we have built a culture that is so defensive against actually exploring what enlightenment is, what self-actualization is, what deep intrinsic work, what spiritual awakening is. I mean, you go to church to hear a pastor talk about it, so the context works. Clients come to me to hear me talk about it, so they listen and it works. Where's the conversation outside of context? Where it makes people so uncomfortable. Right? Just like therapy. Everybody's uncomfortable with that shit. I can't tell you how many times. I know this is true. I never really got therapy. I tried, but I got dropped because I'm so fucking nuts. But every patient, right, they'll tell me how much they're looking forward to their individual session. Right? So let's say it's on a Wednesday, all week, they're excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for my individual. Wednesday comes, 2 o'clock, their appointment, all they can think about is, how do I get out of this quickly? Right? And they're wearing the therapy because we're scared of challenging the ego. We're scared of sitting and exploring this. But how are we ever going to evolve if all we do is tell on our destructive behaviors and give like surface level advice, because none of us have done this work? Like, what is the percentage of people in our society, not even in the recovery community, in our society, who have continued to elevate themselves, who have consistency, consistently bettering themselves, their habits, the way they think, the way they interact with things, the way they treat people, right? And stopping the bad stuff? How many people have that consistency? Because it never stops. Well, you're a human being. You're never perfect. And the one thing you control is how good of a person you are, right? Your perceptions, your effort, your attitude, your concentration and energy. You can control that. And what a self-actualized human being, a person who's practicing spiritual principles, a person who's seeking enlightenment, a person who's trying to be their best self, a person who's trying to succeed, guess what they're going to do? They're going to control what they can control. And they're going to practice letting go of the rest. But every one of us will tell you this isn't just something we say. We try to embody it. What does that mean? That we have the courage to admit ourselves to our ego. We know where our fucked up beliefs are, where our fucked up behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. We map them. We don't just say, oh man, I have all these messed up things. No, I know how it's messed up. I know why it's messed up. I know why my ego wants this. I know why my ego says this. Not just what it says and what it feels and what it does. Why? Why do I get so angry over this? Why do I struggle with intimacy over here? Why do I get uncomfortable in this situation? Why do I feel defensive here? Most people, with most of it, they're not even aware of their defensiveness. No, I'm not being defensive. What? What? I'm not angry. What? I don't take shit personal. What? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, in real time, the thing we're acting out, the thing we're actively doing all the time, we'll say, no, I'm good, man. No, everything's great. Bro, you're obviously upset, man. What's going on? Right? It's fucking wild that I live in a society that is so utterly defensive against truth. What the fuck? Right. Thought I saw a bug. And the recovery Ronin, I had to take as a character because somebody's got to have the courage to really call out how full of shit we are in a way that's very loud. And especially in the recovery community, right? Because the backwards way we look at so many things, how we think about and treat relapse is utterly insane. Is there a small benefit to it? Potentially, yes. But we pretend like that's all we got. The way the vast majority of America thinks about addiction and relapse is, right, that it's about how bad you want to stop using. We've known it's a disease for 70 years. We know it's the amygdala hijack. So what a person needs to do is rewire that. You can't will yourself over an amygdala hijack. That's not how anything works. But for some reason we think, again, I wish I was lying about this. And this is the vast majority of experts that I have met in working at over 30 facilities, being in recovery 24 years, Again, I don't even consider myself clean. I definitely don't have 24 years clean. Nothing anywhere near that. I've relapsed hundreds of times. But I've been in recovery 24 years, been a clinician for 12, worked at over 30 facilities, done adventure therapy for over 15, worked as a private contractor, primary therapist, program director, and I've worked with hundreds of amazing people, a lot of them, and a lot of shitty ones. But the vast majority of them think this way. My clinical director said to my entire community, that if you want to stay clean and sober, I've been doing this 34 years. This woman had like 10 letters after her name. What you have to do is hold on to your worst moment when you got the detox. Whether you came on plane, trains, or automobiles, she was trying to be charming. That worst moment in detox, you think about it, hold on to it every day of your life, and that's what'll keep you clean and sober. That's really what we think. So when a mother comes in and fights her life off for her recovery, right? It's not hard to beat alcoholism. She's probably got complex trauma. How hard do you think her days were? Not just detox, dealing with the guilt and shame that she throws a drink over her family over and over and over, the devastation she caused her kids, how many times she cried in the dark, and she's dealing with the complex trauma of her childhood. She prays all the time. She shows up when she can barely get out of bed. And 9 months in, everybody tells her how proud they are of her. They believe, oh, that she did it. Like, now she's far enough away from the alcohol that it's a choice. But let's say stress starts to build, the boredom starts to creep in, the feeling of loneliness and dread, right? She's arguing with her family. What happens here? The amygdala begins to swell, cuts off the activity to the prefrontal lobe. At a certain point, right, she gets into an accident on the way home, she gets a fight with her boss, stress completely takes over. To tell me that the odds that a person in that extreme state, an addict, mind you, let alone a general person, an addict means that they have programmed their brain to exist in that emergency state at the highest of levels, that their literal brain pathology, when they have strong emotion, bypasses the prefrontal lobe, gets stuck in the amygdala, and her brain and body think she's about to die. They make her feel like she's about to die. So it overrides, and it goes, what is the thing that's going to save me? The drink. The drink's going to save your life. The drink overrides everything. We pretend like we don't have a brain or a nervous system. It's not a willpower issue. Again, Navy SEALs struggle with this. The hardest test in becoming a Navy SEAL is bypassing the amygdala hijack. The most well-disciplined, trained guys know exactly what it's for. More fail that test than anything else. And then we put it on a mother. And this is where the whole point comes in. Everybody tells her she must not have loved her kids enough. Because we think it's a choice. Rather than judging the 9 months, a year of overcoming all her guilt, her shame, her grief, her trauma, her pain, how hard that was and how much effort she put into 9 months for a year. We judge a bad moment that she would never choose and then tell her she did it because she loved the drink more than her kids. Guilt, shame, grief, regret is the biggest anchor we carry. It's the lowest conscious state. So we weaponize more guilt and shame against the addict, and we do it all the time. We think that's what we need. We say it to each other. You got to play the tape through. Feel that guilt. You got to keep it green. You got to remember where you came from. You got to hold on to it. Because the more you tell yourself an addict, the more likely you are to not use in that moment. Anybody with a fucking 2 brain cells that's willing to think this through with me knows what I'm saying sounds pretty fucking accurate. Then why the fuck have we built an entire culture around weaponizing the biggest enemy addicts have? Fear, guilt, shame, grief, regret. We tell them we need more of it. We weaponize it against them. We tell them to hold on to it, to play it through all the time. So that, right, once an addict, always an addict. Really? Do we know that's true? So there's not many addicts throughout human history who healed themselves, who got really active lifestyles, who started showing up, who had spiritual awakening. They created neuroplasticity. They fixed the neurotransmitter function. They opened their heart wall. They learned to get control of their nervous system. They learned what choice was. They healed themselves. They drank the drugs, no compulsion. That didn't happen. probably happened millions of times. But we don't believe in that anymore. That's why we've done this. We don't believe in the 12 steps anymore. Holy shit. I'm like, what, you go to a meeting to be inspired for spiritual awakening? Nobody has ever said that's why they go to meetings. I mean, okay, I've maybe heard it like 5 times in 24 years and thousands of meetings and thousands of clients that I've asked. I've maybe heard it a couple of times. And everybody's like, oh, you know, that's kind of the whole point, man. Like, honesty is the principle behind the first step. And most people I know in recovery will tell me they don't even lie to themselves anymore. I never lie. What? What? Do you realize how weird that is to say to somebody that's on a spiritual path? You know what that tells me, right? If you tell me you don't lie to yourself, and you have like a self-destructive lifestyle, you eat shit, you don't take care of yourself, you don't exercise appropriately, you smoke, right? All this shit. And you're going to tell me you don't lie to yourself. That's wild, man. What it tells me is you don't even know how full of shit you are. You haven't even begun the process of awakening. It's the principle behind the first step. And everybody thinks it's about the substance. No. The first thing a person must do is get past the denial of their addiction, for sure, but I don't know people that have problems with that. And that's so fucking rare. Honesty is about, why do you get angry at your partner for being your partner? Why do you get angry at your loved ones for loving you? Why do you get overwhelmed with traffic? Why do you not eat the way you know you should? Why do you make excuses? Why do you procrastinate? It's all lies. It's the ego does. And it's not. It knows us better than we know ourselves, because our hippocampus remembers everything through our life, and our sensory input and the way we process those emotional experiences just create our beliefs. It's not who we are. It's just the stories we believe. Who we are is so beautiful. That nobility in our heart. Like, I feel it in people, even people that can't stand me, that hate me, that project their insecurities at me. I can feel their heart. And I'm learning to navigate it more and more. Like people that I work with now, back in the restaurant business, after 8 years out of it. And there was a hostess that I tried to help, probably didn't want to hear my help. And I could tell she couldn't stand me. Right? What I look like, and my big mouth and my obnoxious personality, it definitely makes people not like me. Right? And fair. Like, everybody's allowed to not like me. And not only that, I get that. I'm not an easy person to like. I'm an easy person to love, but I'm not an easy person to like. I'm very aware of that. I don't take it personal. And I was thinking, like, did I come on too strong? And then I learned to navigate it. I did come on too strong. I did sit back, and I did feel her heart, and I spoke to it a little bit softly. I worked around her in a way that she needed, and I could tell she's starting to like me. I love what I do, and I know I'm going to help millions of people. I'm so honored that I've helped so many. I know my voice has the potential to help millions more. I am the Recovery Ronin. Thank you for your time.